In Hearthstone's newest expansion, Murder at Castle Nathria, there is a new card type being introduced known as locations. Locations are played onto the battlefield for an initial cost and then have an ability that can be activated for free on the player's turn. Each activation does cost 1 durability and has a 1 turn cooldown, which basically means when you use the locations ability, it can't be used the following turn. You have to wait 1 turn in between uses. We have seen some of the new locations that they will be adding into Hearthstone. Let's see other locations that could be in the game. 1 mana priest location, Feasting Hall. Draw a card and give this to your opponent. Obviously this location is super flavorful. It is a feasting hall, so you eat your food and then you pass it to someone else. The idea of giving yourself card draw is pretty great, but giving it to your opponent isn't super good. The biggest upside about this card is that you do get 3 draws and then your opponent only gets 2, is giving your opponent 2 draws worth you getting 3 draws, but you're paying the 1 mana for it. I'm not really sure if you want to do that, but I do think the flavor and the location aspect of this card is phenomenal. Maybe you just make this 1 mana draw a card. It still has the idea of the feasting hall, but you're not giving that benefit to your opponent, and maybe reduce the durability down to 3. Because you can only use locations once every other turn, this is drawing 3 cards over 5 turns, and that seems rather slow, but maybe that is a little bit better than giving a couple free draws to your opponent. 2 mana hunter location, Burial Site. Copy the death rattle of a friendly minion and it has 3 durability. So obviously for flavor, this makes total sense. You're putting death rattles in a burial site because death rattles have to die. In case you did not know, I know it's
crazy.
And this effect can be extremely powerful. The fact that it can only be used every other turn also limits what you can do, but you could start planning around your turns on how you can use your death rattles. This card does have the potential to be extremely powerful, but death rattles haven't really been that great in the hunter archetype. There's been a couple of decks here and there, never been game breaking. We have seen hunter do the death rattle package over the entire Hearthstone history. So I absolutely love this card. If you don't subscribe right now, I'm gonna find your location. 10 mana druid location, the Emerald Dream. Refresh your mana crystals with 2 durability. I looked up what the Emerald Dream was because I did not play World of Warcraft, and it is basically the location of dreams. This is obviously associated with Ysera. Ysera did get a class legendary for druid, so this does actually make a lot of flavor sense giving this location to druid. The effect is very interesting. You're basically playing this card to save 10 mana for later. I don't know if that's really worth it. We did have Kuhn the Forgotten King in the past, which was decent, but you got a 7/7. And because we also have Guff in standard right now, I can't imagine this card actually being played, even though if you do actually have 20 mana crystals with Guff and you refresh your mana crystals, that's 40 mana in a turn. Maybe with 40 mana, actually, there is some ridiculous combo, but that feels like an absolute meme dream, and I'm all about it. But I don't think this card is super strong. Maybe I am underestimating how powerful this effect can be. So let me know with a comment down below what you think. 1 mana mage location, Observatorium. Your next spell costs 1 less and it is 3 durability. An Observatorium for mage makes perfect sense. We've seen like Luna's Pocket Galaxy. You can make the case that observatoriums are looking up into space. It makes total sense when you look at the flavor. So this effect is really cool. You could either just use it immediately and discount a spell, or you can actually bank this up and save it for a really big spell to play it much earlier. And if I'm paying 1 mana to reduce a big spell by 3 mana, that is actually pretty good. It's also an extremely versatile card. It basically pays for itself immediately, which is pretty great. I don't know if necessarily I would want to put this in my deck, but if there's enough big spells, this card would probably see somewhat play. I do think this card is super cool. I think it's very flavorful for mage, and I think it would be a great location. 1 mana priest location, Anima Lab. Destroy a friendly minion, then return it to life with full health with 3 durability. This is a very, very powerful effect. When it comes to the flavor of this card, I'm not super familiar with Warcraft, so I'm not really sure if Priest would be in a lab like this, but I could definitely see it. Priests do some really weird stuff, so it makes kind of sense. This effect is absolutely insane though. There are so many ways you can use this. If you trade into a minion and you want to just give it full life, you can. You could use it with death rattles like Light Shower Elemental to get insane amount of health. There's just so many ways to use this card that I can't imagine a world where Priest wouldn't want this effect unless you're playing an extremely aggressive deck. I would think this card is almost too good. Maybe at 2 durability, it might be a little bit safer. And if they do end up adding this into Hearthstone, all hail our Priest overlords. 9 mana Warlock location, Collapsing Bridge. Destroy all minions with 1 durability. So obviously the flavor of this card is that you're on a bridge, it collapses, therefore it can only have 1 durability. The flavor makes sense. sense. I'm not really sure about a Warlock card here, but I mean, it could be a Warlock card. I'm not going to say it's not. The thing about this card is that this is just a strictly weaker version of Twisting Nether. There is absolutely no reason for you to run this card other than maybe you want to play this for 9 mana to do absolutely nothing that turn, just to bank an AoE for later that you can activate for 0 mana. Normally when you play a card like this, you're going to want to use that AoE immediately. I can't imagine a Warlock playing this card and not using it the very same turn. Why not just play Twisting Nether at that point? Unless there is a very, very specific reason that you want to save a board clear and you have literally 9 mana to not do anything else, maybe this card would see play. This card absolutely needs 2 durability, and I know it kind of ruins the flavor of this effect. Maybe just put 2 bridges in the picture and then it makes total sense. But at the moment, I think this card is way too weak. 5 mana Priest Location, Other Land Gate. Choose 2 minions, swap their places for 2 durability. When it comes to the flavor, I Google searched what Other Land Gate was, but I could not find anything about it. So I'm not sure if this really fits the Priest class, purely based this off the effect. This card can be extremely powerful. At first glance, it looks like the only use case of this is that you could swap 2 of your minions so you have a better positioning for a specific card. The main powerful effect of this is that you swap one of your minions for one of your opponent's minions to get a powerful effect that normally you can't use in the Priest class. 5 mana to swap a bad minion for a good minion is pretty great. We have a comparable minion to this, which was Silas Darkmoon, which did see some play, but you can use this twice and it's 2 mana cheaper. I do think that this card is actually pretty great. There are so many use cases for this, and forever your opponent has to be a little scared of playing a minion. This also fits kind of into the Priest class because it's like changing your minion's mind, which we have seen quite a bit in Priest, but this effect is very spooky. It might be borderline OP. It might have to be 6 mana, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. Last 3 locations are all locations in Azeroth, so these are notable places in the Warcraft universe. Let's start off with the Dark Portal, a 6 mana Warlock location. Discover a demon and summon it with 6 durability. When it comes to the flavor of this card, it makes total sense, but when it comes to the actual effect, it's probably broken. The variance of this card is absolutely absurd. If there are really good demons, this card is probably the best card in the game. You're paying 6 mana to get a bunch of free demons that can potentially just be game winning on their own, and that is a lot of value. Now, maybe I'm overestimating how much this card can impact the game, but if it ever goes into late game, this card can be insane. Because you can only use this effect every other turn, it's not a super fast card. Again, it really comes down to how powerful the demons are, and if there's a lot of really powerful demons, this card is terrifying. Probably a little bit too good. Maybe bump the durability down to 4. Hard to judge because it really depends on how great the demons are. Next, we have Karazhan Tower, a 5 mana mage location. Gain spell damage +2 with 4 durability. The flavor of this card makes perfect sense, and this effect is obviously really good. Paying 5 mana to get spell damage +2 isn't super good, but this effect based on the wording can stack. Maybe it might be worth writing gain spell damage +2 for this turn only, but even then it would be a very powerful effect. Saving spell damage that your opponent can't really interact with is very scary. It enables more combos down the line, and your opponent has to be very scared later in the game because there is probably going to be some OTK combo with this card eventually. If this effect was not 1 turn only, this card is absolutely overpowered and probably needs to be nerfed immediately. I would definitely make it for this turn only, but very scary card. Last but not least, we have the Maelstrom, which is a 6 mana shaman location. Give your elementals +4/+4 and 3 durability. The flavor makes perfect sense to put this in shaman. The effect looks like it's pretty great. Now, this doesn't say in your hand and deck, so it looks like it only affects elementals that are on the board, which is probably for the better. There's probably some OTK with Alec here if this was every elemental. This card is probably just pretty balanced, and it completely depends whether or not you have enough elementals to justify this. If you only have 1 elemental, it's basically a Blessing of Kings. You have 2 elementals, then it gets a little picante. Now, if elementals are ever too strong, you could just make this +3/+3 or make it 7 mana, but I don't think necessarily this card is going to be game breaking. I think it's just pretty good. As I was editing this video, I saw 2 more cards I want to showcase, one of them being Wall of Argus, a 2 mana paladin location. Give adjacent minions +1/+ +1 in taunt and has 3 durability. If you did not know, there is a card called Defender of Argus, which gives your adjacent minions +1/+1 in taunt. I know, crazy. This is just a really cool location that fits into the theme of that card. Not really sure if it needs to be Paladin. This one's not a location, but I do think a card like this will probably be in the upcoming expansion. 2-mana spell for Rogue in the discover a location from another class. It fits perfectly into Thief Rogue. Come on, like this is a card in the game. Thanks for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe.